Have you ever found yourself looking at a plate of delicious leftovers from last night's dinner? Maybe some fluffy rice, a hearty potato dish, or even a scramble you made for breakfast, and thought about saving it for later. It's a natural thing to do, isn't it? We've all been there, wanting to enjoy those comforting tastes again, or perhaps just trying to be economical and avoid waste. But what if I told you that some of those seemingly harmless leftovers could actually be silently brewing trouble right in your fridge, waiting to cause you a lot of discomfort? Or even worse, make you quite ill for us. Especially as we get a little older, our bodies can be more sensitive. And what might be a minor upset for a younger person could become a much more serious problem for us. That gnawing stomach ache, the unexpected trip to the bathroom, or that general feeling of being unwell might not just be a bug, but something that was easily preventable. It's a secret that many don't truly understand. A simple truth about food safety that could make a world of difference to your health and well-being. In this video, we're going to dive deep into this topic, revealing 3 common foods you should absolutely never reheat, no matter how tempting it might be. And then, just as importantly, we'll talk about 3 other foods that you absolutely must reheat properly to keep yourself safe and healthy. This isn't just about avoiding a tummy ache. It's about protecting your energy, your comfort, and your peace of mind. Make sure you watch right to the very end, because there's something waiting for you that will truly surprise you and change the way you think about your plate. Let's start our journey into smarter eating habits by looking at the first food that often catches people by surprise. A true culprit in many cases of mild to severe food discomfort, plain old rice. Yes, that fluffy, innocent-looking side dish or the base of your favorite stir-fry. It's a staple in so many homes, a simple pleasure. But when it comes to reheating, rice holds a secret that can turn it into a health hazard. Now, you might be thinking, rice. What could possibly be wrong with reheating rice? Well, the danger isn't actually in the reheating process itself, but in how the rice is handled before it gets into the microwave or oven. Cooked rice contains spores of a common bacterium called Bacillus cereus. These tiny spores are incredibly resilient. They can actually survive the initial cooking process. Now, here's where the trouble starts if cooked rice is left to cool slowly at room temperature. Perhaps sitting out on the counter while you finish dinner or get distracted. These surviving spores begin to multiply rapidly. As they multiply, they produce toxins. And here's the really crucial part. These toxins are heat resistant. That means even if you reheat the rice thoroughly, the bacteria might be killed, but the harmful toxins they've already produced will still be present, ready to cause you problems. Imagine you've made a big pot of rice for dinner. Maybe you were cooking for the family or just wanted to have some handy for a few days. You serve up your plate. And then, because you're busy, or perhaps you just forget, that remaining pot of rice sits on the stovetop for a few hours. This is the perfect breeding ground for those Bacillus cereus spores. They're thriving in that warm, moist environment, multiplying and churning out those nasty toxins. Then, the next day, you pop a serving into the microwave, thinking you're being sensible by using up leftovers. You heat it until it's steaming, feeling confident it's safe. But unbeknownst to you, those invisible toxins are still there, ready to give you a very unpleasant surprise within a few hours. For us, as we move through our golden years, our digestive systems can become a little more sensitive, and our immune systems might not be quite as robust as they once were. What might be a mild stomach upset for a younger person could lead to much more severe symptoms for us, like intense nausea, persistent vomiting, or debilitating diarrhea, potentially leading to dehydration and feeling truly awful for days. It's simply not worth the risk. So, how do we handle rice safely? It's quite straightforward once you know. The key is rapid cooling after you've cooked your rice. If you have any leftovers you plan to save, you must cool it down as quickly as possible. Don't let it sit on the counter for hours. Ideally, aim to get it into the fridge within 1 hour of cooking. A great tip is to spread the rice out on a shallow plate or tray. This increases its surface area, allowing it to cool down much faster than if it's left in a deep pot. Once it's cool, transfer it to a clean, airtight container and get it into the refrigerator promptly. And remember, Once it's been cooked and cooled, you should aim to eat it within 1 day. And critically, you should only reheat rice once. Even better, if you can avoid reheating it at all by cooking smaller portions or using fresh rice. That's always the safest bet. It might seem like a small detail, but this simple change in habit can protect you from a lot of unnecessary discomfort and worry. It's all about being proactive with our food safety, isn't it? Now, let's flip the coin and talk about a category of food that you absolutely must reheat thoroughly to stay safe: cooked meats like leftover chicken, turkey, or even that delicious slice of roast beef from Sunday dinner. Unlike rice, where the danger often comes from toxins produced before reheating, with meats, the primary concern is killing any lingering bacteria that might have survived the initial cooking or, more commonly, bacteria that have contaminated the meat during the cooling and storage process. Think about it. You've just enjoyed a wonderful roasted chicken. There are a few pieces left over, perhaps some breast meat or a leg. You pop them into a container and into the fridge, planning to have them for a quick sandwich or a simple meal the next day. This is perfectly fine. Of course. But even if the chicken was cooked perfectly the first time, bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, or Listeria can still be present in incredibly small numbers, or they can be introduced from other foods in your fridge, or even from your hands or utensils during handling. While your refrigerator slows down their growth, it doesn't stop it entirely. And these bacteria, unlike the toxins from Bacillus cereus in rice, are heat sensitive. They need to be exposed to a high enough temperature to be completely destroyed. For us, if we consume under-reheated meats, the consequences can be much more severe than a simple tummy ache. We're talking about potentially serious food poisoning that can lead to high fever, severe abdominal cramps, relentless diarrhea, and even, in some cases, hospitalization. Our bodies, as they age, simply don't bounce back from these kinds of bacterial assaults as quickly as they once did. Dehydration becomes a real concern, and recovery can be a long and draining process. It's a risk that's entirely avoidable with just a little bit of care. So, what's the golden rule for reheating cooked meats always? And I mean always. Ensure they are piping hot all the way through. This isn't just about being warm. It's about reaching a safe internal temperature where any harmful bacteria are effectively eliminated. The widely recommended temperature is 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 74 degrees Celsius, for smaller pieces, like sliced chicken or turkey. This often means steaming hot, with no cold spots anywhere in the middle. If you're reheating a larger piece, or something like a whole chicken breast, and you have a food thermometer, it's a wonderful tool to use. Simply insert it into the thickest part of the meat, avoiding any bone, to ensure it reaches that crucial temperature. When you're reheating in a microwave, remember that microwaves can sometimes heat unevenly, leaving cold spots where bacteria can survive. So, make sure to stir the food halfway through if it's in a dish, or rearrange pieces of meat, and then let it stand for a minute or two after heating to allow the heat to distribute evenly. If you're using an oven, covering the meat can help keep it moist and ensure it heats through without drying out. And just like with rice, a very important rule applies: only reheat cooked meats once. Repeated reheating degrades the quality of the food and increases the risk of bacterial growth each time it cools and is then brought back up to temperature. By following these simple steps, you're not just warming up your meal, you're actively protecting your health and ensuring that those delicious leftovers continue to be a source of comfort and nourishment, not a cause for concern. It's about being smart in the kitchen and giving ourselves the best chance to stay well and enjoy every moment. Now that we've understood the critical differences between how we handle rice and cooked meats, let's continue our journey through your kitchen and uncover more surprising truths about leftovers, turning our attention to another seemingly innocent staple: potatoes. Yes, whether it's a fluffy baked potato, creamy mashed potatoes, or even a side of roasted spuds, potatoes are a beloved part of so many meals. But when mishandled, they can become a silent carrier of something truly dangerous, a far more serious threat than an upset stomach. The main concern with potatoes, especially if they've been cooked and then left to cool improperly, particularly when wrapped in foil or stored in an airtight container at room temperature, is the risk of a bacterium called Clostridium botulinum. You might have heard of botulism. It's rare, thankfully, But it is an incredibly serious illness, and it can be life-threatening. Here's why potatoes are a particular risk. Clostridium botulinum thrives in environments that are low in oxygen. When you bake a potato and then wrap it tightly in foil, or when you leave a large quantity of mashed potatoes in a deep, sealed container, you create just such an environment. The initial cooking process can often kill off the active bacteria. But, like with rice, the spores of Clostridium botulinum can survive. If those spores are then left in a warm, oxygen-deprived setting, they can germinate and produce a potent neurotoxin. And this toxin, much like the one in rice, is not destroyed by reheating. Imagine you've baked a few lovely potatoes for dinner, perhaps wrapped them in foil to keep them moist. You eat one, and then leave the others sitting on the counter, still snugly wrapped in their foil blankets, thinking you'll get to them later or the next day. This is a common, understandable habit. However, inside that foil, away from the air, and as the potato slowly cools, those dangerous spores can start their work, silently producing toxins. When you then decide to reheat that potato the next day, you might make it piping hot, but the damage is already done. The toxin is still there, invisible, tasteless, and odorless. The symptoms of botulism are terrifying and can include muscle paralysis, difficulty swallowing, blurred vision, and even trouble breathing. For us, particularly, recovering from something so severe is an enormous challenge, if recovery is even possible. This is why, when it comes to potatoes, the advice is often quite strong. It's best to be incredibly cautious with leftovers. So, how do we handle potatoes safely if we absolutely must save them? The absolute golden rule is rapid cooling and proper storage. Just like with rice. If you've baked potatoes in foil, remove them from the foil as soon as they're done cooking. Let them cool down, quickly. Perhaps by slicing them open or breaking them apart slightly to release the heat. For mashed potatoes, spread them out on a shallow plate or tray to help them cool faster. The goal is to get them into the refrigerator within 2 hours of cooking, or even sooner if possible. And when you put them in the fridge, use shallow, uncovered containers initially to help them chill down quickly, before sealing them once they are fully cold. Once refrigerated, aim to consume them within a day or two. While it's technically possible to reheat potatoes if they've been handled perfectly, because the risk of botulism is so severe, many food safety experts lean towards advising against reheating them at all, or to be extremely diligent. Honestly, for peace of mind, sometimes it's safer to just cook the right amount, or, if you do have leftovers, be extremely quick and precise with your cooling methods. When it comes to something as serious as botulism, prevention truly is the only cure. This simple change in how you treat your potatoes can lift a huge invisible burden of risk from your shoulders. Now, let's shift our focus to another category of comforting, often multi-ingredient meals that absolutely demand thorough reheating for your safety: your wonderful stews, hearty soups, and family favorite casseroles. These dishes are often a blend of meats, vegetables, and rich broths or sauces, making them incredibly delicious, but also potentially perfect breeding grounds for bacteria if not handled with care. Think about that big pot of beef stew simmering on the stove all afternoon, filling your home with wonderful aromas. Or a delicious chicken and vegetable casserole you made for a family gathering, with plenty left over. These dishes are fantastic for meal prep because the tiny taste even better the next day as the flavors meld. However, their very nature, being thick, dense, and containing a variety of ingredients, means they pose a unique challenge when it comes to reheating safely. Bacteria love these rich, moist environments. And because these dishes are often thick, heat can penetrate slowly and unevenly, creating cold spots where harmful bacteria can easily survive. If these types of dishes are left to cool slowly on the countertop, or if they're stored in large, deep containers in the fridge, they can take a long time to cool down completely through the middle. During this extended cooling period, bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, or Listeria can multiply to dangerous levels, Consuming these dishes when they haven't been reheated thoroughly enough can lead to severe gastrointestinal distress, including cramps, diarrhea, vomiting, and fever. Again, for us, experiencing such an illness can be particularly debilitating, draining our energy and potentially leading to dehydration or other complications. It's not just about feeling unwell, it's about protecting our overall vitality. So, what's the secret to safely reheating your beloved stews, soups, and casseroles? The absolute key is to ensure they reach a high enough temperature to kill off any lurking bacteria. And that means truly piping hot, all the way through, without exception, for soups and stews. This means bringing them to a rolling boil and letting them simmer vigorously for at least 2 minutes. You should see steam rising from every part of the dish, and it should be bubbling away. If you're reheating in a saucepan, make sure to stir continuously, especially from the bottom, to distribute the heat evenly and prevent scorching. For casseroles, whether you're using a microwave or an oven, the internal temperature should reach at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. If you're using a microwave, cover the dish to trap steam and help with even heating, and make sure to stir the casserole partway through the heating process. If you're reheating in the oven, cover it loosely with foil to prevent it from drying out. And again, ensure it's piping hot in the center if you have a food thermometer. It's an excellent idea to check the thickest part of the casserole to confirm it's reached that critical temperature. Just like with other reheated foods, try to only reheat these dishes once. Every time you reheat and cool food, you create an opportunity for bacteria to grow. So, if you've made a large batch, consider portioning it out before the first refrigeration, so you only reheat what you're going to eat in one sitting. This simple, mindful approach to handling your comforting, hearty meals ensures they remain a source of delicious warmth and not a hidden health risk. It's about enjoying your food with confidence, knowing you've taken the necessary steps to keep yourself safe and sound. Now, as we near the end of our important discussion on food safety, let's uncover one more pair of critical foods, one to avoid reheating, and one that simply must be heated again to protect your well-being. This last pair might be the most surprising of all, especially if you love a good breakfast. Let's talk about eggs, particularly scrambled or fried eggs. Most of us cherish eggs as a healthy, versatile, and quick meal. A perfect scrambled egg breakfast or a sunny side up on toast can truly start your day off right. And it's common to think, oh, I'll just save that extra bit of scramble for tomorrow. But when it comes to reheating, eggs, especially those that have been cooked and then left to cool, pose a unique set of challenges and risks that make them a food best enjoyed fresh. And, ideally, never reheated. The primary concern with eggs is their high susceptibility to contamination, most notably from salmonella bacteria. While proper initial cooking will kill off most salmonella, the moment eggs begin to cool, any surviving bacteria or newly introduced bacteria from the environment can begin to multiply rapidly. And here's the catch: the protein structure of eggs changes significantly once they're cooked. When you try to reheat them, particularly in a microwave, they tend to become rubbery, watery, and, frankly, quite unappetizing. Beyond the disappointing texture, the real danger lies in the potential for bacterial growth during the cooling period and the difficulty in ensuring a safe reheat. It's incredibly hard to reheat eggs evenly and thoroughly enough to eliminate all bacteria without overcooking them to an unpleasant consistency. Imagine you've made a generous batch of scrambled eggs, perhaps for a leisurely Sunday brunch, and there's a small portion left over. You pop it into a container and into the fridge. While it might seem convenient to warm it up the next morning, that cooling period provides a window of opportunity for bacteria to proliferate. Our bodies, as we age, are often more vulnerable to foodborne illnesses. A dose of salmonella from improperly handled or reheated eggs can lead to severe nausea, violent vomiting, debilitating diarrhea, and a high fever. This isn't just a bad morning. It can lead to significant dehydration and a feeling of profound weakness that can take days, even weeks, to fully recover from. This is why many food safety guidelines strongly advise against reheating cooked eggs, especially scrambled or fried varieties. So, what's the safest approach for your beloved eggs? Enjoy them fresh. Cook only the amount you plan to eat in one sitting. If you have a larger dish containing eggs, like a quiche or a frittata, and it needs to be stored. Ensure it's cooled very quickly, perhaps by slicing it into smaller pieces, and refrigerated promptly within 2 hours. When reheating such dishes, they must be heated through until piping hot, ensuring no cold spots. But for your simple scrambled or fried eggs, the best advice is to cook them just before you eat them. It's a small adjustment, but it significantly reduces your risk of foodborne illness and ensures you always enjoy eggs at their freshest and safest. Prioritizing this simple habit can save you a world of discomfort and keep you feeling vibrant and well. Now for our final must reheat food, a category that brings joy to so many dinner tables: leftover pasta dishes, especially those with rich sauces. Whether they're creamy or meat-based, think about that wonderful spaghetti bolognese, a comforting chicken alfredo, or even a simple pasta primavera with lots of lovely vegetables. These dishes are often even better the next day, as the flavors develop. However, their delicious complexity also means they require diligent reheating to keep you safe. Just like with stews and casseroles, pasta dishes combine multiple ingredients that can provide an excellent environment for bacterial growth if not handled correctly. The pasta itself can become sticky as it cools, creating pockets where bacteria can hide. And if the sauce contains meat, dairy, or vegetables, it increases the risk further. The main concern here is the rapid multiplication of various bacteria, including some of the usual suspects like E. coli, or even the Bacillus cereus we discussed earlier with rice, as pasta can be made from similar grains. If these dishes are left to cool slowly at room temperature, or if they are stored in large, deep containers, they can take an extended period to cool down properly, allowing bacteria to multiply to unsafe levels. Consuming improperly reheated pasta can lead to symptoms ranging from moderate to severe food poisoning, intense stomach cramps, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. For us, these symptoms can be particularly disruptive, potentially leading to dehydration, weakness, and a general feeling of being unwell that impacts our daily activities and overall enjoyment of life. It's an entirely avoidable discomfort. So, how do we ensure our leftover pasta dishes are always safe to enjoy? The rule is clear and firm: always reheat them until they are steaming hot all the way through, with no cold spots whatsoever. This means bringing them up to that critical internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or 74 degrees Celsius, to effectively eliminate any harmful bacteria. If you're reheating in a microwave, make sure you use a microwave-safe dish and cover it to trap the steam, which helps with even heating. Crucially, stir the pasta thoroughly halfway through the heating process. This breaks up any clumps and ensures that heat reaches every part of the dish. If you're reheating on the stovetop, add a splash of water or broth to prevent it from drying out, and stir continuously until it's bubbling and steaming vigorously throughout. For oven reheating, again, cover the dish to retain moisture and ensure even heating. A smart tip for large batches of pasta is to portion them out into smaller, individual servings before refrigerating. This allows the food to cool down much faster, reducing the time it spends in the danger zone where bacteria thrive. When you only reheat what you need for one meal, you also prevent repeated reheating of the entire batch, which can degrade the food's quality and further increase bacterial risk. Remember, the general guideline is to reheat food only once. By taking these simple yet effective steps, you can confidently enjoy your delicious leftover pasta dishes, knowing you're protecting your health and making the most of your meals without compromise. It's all about informed choices that lead to a happier, healthier you. So, there you have it. 3 foods you should think twice about reheating: rice, potatoes, and eggs. And 3 you absolutely must reheat properly: cooked meats, hearty stews, soups, and casseroles, and pasta dishes. Remember, small changes can make a big difference to your health and happiness. These aren't drastic overhauls, but rather mindful adjustments to habits you might already have. I'd love to hear from you. Have you learned something new today? Do you have your own tips for handling leftovers safely? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your insights could help someone else in our wonderful community. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people like you. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more practical advice and tips to help you live your best life at every age, caring for ourselves, including being smart about what and how we eat, is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. Every thoughtful choice contributes to a more vibrant, energetic, and joyful life. Stay curious. Stay well. And keep living your best life at every age.